Exterior, interior and driving of the IONIQ 5. Is this now the best electric vehicle as for price performance? We will find out. Look at that front, retro design, really awesome look. And the rectangular daytime running light, another spicy element. Main headlamp unit comes from LED as standard. IONIQ 5, yes, they also separated a little bit from the other cars, but still they carry the Hyundai badge. And here we can also see the full light signature at night here. And here in the rear. And the turning indicators here in the front. And here at the rear. Click, clack, click, clack. The length at 4.63 meters or 182 inches. It's a mid-size segment, but a little bit shorter than other mid-size vehicles. This one will also be a little bit shorter than the platform brother, the Kia EV6. Important competitors, the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2, whereas this one here is more on this hatch shape. Very interesting difference also. Wheels from 19 to 20 inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels and they're more in this closed aerodynamic style, but really impressive and contrasting scheme around the wheel arches and also in the lower area right here. Just one suspension available, a basic steel suspension. There's no adaptive suspension or whatsoever. What do you think about the design here so far? And in the rear, they continue with this, I would call it retro tech design, also here with the tail lamp signature. I just love it, like Knight Rider kid style, something like that. Contrasting elements in the lower end right here. There's one thing missing here in the rear. What could it be? Tell me in the comments and the solution later on when we're about to open the trunk. And some different colors for you. For example, this looks silver, but it's called Gravity Gold. Ooh. Or you could expect a light blue, but this one is called teal green. And if you look closely, yeah, it has some greenish something. And does it house a frunk? Yes, it does. And EV, okay, now we all know that's an electric vehicle. Okay. And yeah, the space is somewhat limited in the front though. And when we are here at the front, usually with combustion engines, we talk about the acceleration figures. Let's do it right now here because you have different models, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And if you have the rear-wheel drive model, the slowest one 8.5 seconds and the fastest one with all-wheel drive is 5.2 seconds in the acceleration figure. That's already quite quick then. And hey, what's in this optional bag here? And look at that, this is an adapter for the bi-directional charging. So this one here goes in there. And then we have a normal household plug end. And you can, charge anything outside, maybe for sports, activities, maybe for your stand-up paddling board or something that you can put air in it or whatever. And two different battery sizes available, 58 kilowatt hours or 73 kilowatt hours. Pricing then somewhat 40 to 50,000 euros or dollars depending on the battery size and rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which one you pick. For the range, what does that mean? So with our testing consumption of something 18 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers or 28 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. With the small battery, around 320 kilometers or 200 miles. And for the bigger battery, more than 400 kilometers and more than 250 miles. And now we'll start fast charging at a state of charge 71%. That's already quite a lot. But the question is, can it still charge quickly at this high state? And recharging, Hyundai promises 10 to 80% in less than 20 minutes with fast charging. First of all, here the charging flap, 11 kilowatt AC and maximum 220 kilowatt DC charging. Then you can here press it here to close it again. But we have a fast charger here now and 70% charge at the moment because we all know when you add like 10%, it does still quite well. But what about the charging curve? So we put it in here now with a fast charger. And what we can see here, even at 75% of the battery state of charge, more than 120 kilowatt, that's extremely impressive. Hyundai says they developed their own fast charging technology right there and it's working very, very well. Even here at this high state of charge, very impressive. So this is where they are leading at the moment together with Porsche and Audi, who are using these Rimac technology, or Rimacs, when you really call them that way. And now the charging power above 90% is here still at 40 kilowatt. Around with that, yeah, that's still quite decent. And when you are in a narrow parking situation like this, there's also a very interesting function. You can press the key fob here, special hold button. And when you held it for a couple of seconds, then you hear the AC is running. That's the only sign. And then you can press the forward key here. and then the car comes alive, and then you can let it drive out, magic. But you know, sometimes you need some practice that it actually works. When it's working really nicely and flawlessly, that's it. And here now I can get inside, but for this take I needed a few times actually to show that to you perfectly. This is the car key, good quality, and when you open it, then the door handles come towards you. They're otherwise integrated like this, and door closing sound is really solid like that. Inside of the doors, soft touch already in the top part, not too soft though. Here also somewhat soft, real soft than here, and it's kind of a floating design, and also interesting new materials right here. So this is indeed fancy, but a very slim door pocket right there. The Bose sound system right here has an illumination also at night around there, and the IONIQ 5 entry badge. Nice floor mats also, and this is high trim by the way. The steering wheel also with an interesting fabric-alike material here on the inside where the airbag pops out. Now everything is kind of shut down. Soon we'll also light that up, and then you see everything on the steering wheel and so on. 2x 12.3-inch screens, at the moment shut off. Also soon more to that. And then the seats, they would start with black fabric. That's the best choice to go. This is the optional animal skin pack. Of course, it doesn't make sense for any sustainable car, and it's of course not animal friendly. And also you can see here, I mean, these are early prototype vehicles, yes, but still, I'm not sure if that will be different later on. We have to check that at a later stage. Oh, by the way, this here is just a magnet, so you can just take it off and you have a cleaner look. Seating position is kind of like compact hatch style, I would say. Then steering wheel manual up and down, and also in and out. And headroom here with 1.6 or 6'1". Still plenty left, although there is already this panoramic roof, and it opens in a very interesting way. Look at that, very soon. But here, I mean, the seating comfort is somewhat okay, but it's also not a special comfort, I would say. And here we go. That's really fancy, right? So the split opening from the middle, but then the whole thing cannot be opened. Interior overview here with this clean dual screen setup and a bright layer. This is quite rare. Usually you have black bezels here. They went for a different design right here. This is then also soft touch, and I really like the clean layout they have here. But the user interface, is it the best? Kind of not. You have the volume knob still, but then, for example, the climate dials are here with these capacitive buttons, and the question is again, why? At least they're separated here and not kind of like integrated in the screen or something. And you still have some hotkeys here, for example, to hop to the map or the the navigation directly than here when you put in the search and so on. Soon more to the infotainment system. Putting in the gears is here, front or reverse. That's actually quite simple and easy. And also the steering wheel has capacitive buttons. It's just one field. Yeah, it's a curse in the automotive industry, really, and they also fell for it actually. The driving mode selector, however, that's actually an easy choice here, and also with a nice feedback. And the digital instruments, and that's where we, for example, change the driving mode. And they're actually clear to read. You have the speed right there, and also then the projected range on the right side. You have a nice head-up display, it's a good option, and also with some GPS integration if you have a route set. Infotainment system, you might expect with the modern charging technology that they went for something modern in the infotainment system, but they didn't. So the standard Hyundai Kia infotainment system, it's a little bit wider, but it's nothing. I mean, our smartphones were far further, like 5 years ago. So this is not living up to the standard of this vehicle at all. This is quite responsive here in the main menu, like this. Climate menu is right here, but everything takes time and it's not good in the overview. So the user interface is just too complicated here, I think. So best is to take Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and this integration is awesome. One of the best integrations using all the way of the screen. One of the best integration we've seen here with the Apple CarPlay, and the Bose sound system also delivers a very great true sound. And the rear view camera with a great resolution, also the helping lines adapt accordingly, right side fake drone view from above, and when you then switch to the driving mode again, like this, you have the visualization of the vehicle. It's of course all digitalized, and now you can take a look at what you're doing to the wheels and so on. The lower area is interesting, USB charger, 12-volt power supply, and then they have this open space using the EV platform. I like that. Then you have 2 cup holders, adaptive, and more charging possibilities, 2 times USB-A and also inductive charging pad. So the car internal infotainment system, CarPlay integration, yay! Still offering animal skin seats, but the offering of space and the roomish concept, this is awesome. Showing you this here, see another perspective here, with a space in the open front. Finally, someone is using that in the EV. And then here, a lot of space also underneath with the armrest, and you can put this whole thing up, and this is really awesome. I mean, you can put like large handbags here, maybe even a backpack or something. So this is actually very well executed. The rear doors are super large, very long, but that also gives you good access to the rear than here. Then inside of the doors here, also soft in the rear, rarely see that. Also here with a manual shade. Overall, the quality of materials are actually quite good, also with the buttons and so on. I really like these inserts right here, for example. Then you can see once again, EV platform, no middle tunnel or something. That's again very well used. USB chargers. Seats again with the animal skin spec in black. And let's see, when I'm in the driving position in the front, wow, that's a very good result. A lot of space in the rear. This is not a long vehicle, but the usage of space here, enormous. So really super spacious here. It's not a long vehicle at all, but that is really impressive. So would be even better if the seat would be a little bit higher, then you can put your feet better underneath it in the rear. It's very comfortable and also enough headroom. So very impressive by the rear result. Then you can also put this angle here a little bit steeper or more in this, laying back position. And it's so easy to switch here also to the middle position. So 5 tall adults is an easy exercise here for the IONIQ 5. Well, and the bi-direction charging, of course, also works on the inside. Here, normal household plug, for example, to charge MacBooks and so on. And this is really practical because there's a lot of space around it. Usually it can be a problem, like especially with these chargers, but here, no problem. So did you solve the riddle, what this car does not have in the rear? Yes, you're right, it does not have a rear wiper. Can you live without one? Tell me in the comments. Then let's open that hatch. 500 liters up to 1,600 liters approximately. Wide opening, easy access to the trunk. And then, well, this cover here is a little bit wobbly and it's also not high enough. I'll soon show you. But the rest of the trunk is actually quite well usable. Width 1 meter or 40 inches. Length almost 1 meter or 40 inches. So that's totally okay. But it's actually quite shallow, so I can show you that with a backpack. So when I put the backpack right here, yeah, that's not that good. So maybe just put this whole thing out. So I would probably use this vehicle then without this, because so the problem of this trunk is the height, 15 inches or 40 centimeters to the cover here. The overall height in the back, that is actually quite okay when we're here at about 30 inches or 80 centimeters. But look at that here, in the front, you cannot put the backpack right there. You have to at least push it in like this and then you have to cover. So yeah, I think my solution would be putting stuff more back in and also removing this whole thing, and magic, all the way to the length here, about 70 inches or 180 centimeters. That's again well usable in length. Welcome to the driving part of the IONIQ 5, and we start here in busy Valencia city traffic. It's a good way to find out more about the recuperation, and you can switch it around here actually with the shifting pedals. Level 0 would be you lift the throttle, the car is rolling. Then with the left pedal you can increase the recuperation. Level 1, level 2, level 3, and this is already when I lift the throttle. There's strong recuperation, so strong braking then to gain back the energy. And one more, so-called I pedal, and this is then the strongest recuperation, and this is then the one pedal driving feeling. So when I lift the foot off the throttle, here I leave it a little bit, even while rolling, then I stand still. And this way I can really just drive with the throttle pedal, and I hardly ever use the brake pedal, just in an emergency situation where I really, really need it. What you also realize is when you're here stuck in city traffic, this open space surrounding here, where everything has a lot of room, this really helps also in narrow city traffic, because when everything around you feels kind of caged in and narrow, but here on the inside, everything feels spacious. That's a very, very good feeling. And also how everything resonates here from the switch gear and so on. When you touch, for example, a turning indicator, it's a really good build quality, and that also helps here while driving to feel somewhat just, well, and somewhat also sophisticated. It's also not too big for our vehicle, so in the city traffic you really feel at home, and you can also easily get a parking spot and so on and so on. So for city, good vehicle actually, and then you also have advantages if you compare it to really big EVs, for example. And noise insulation here so far also very good. It's a very silent and calm atmosphere. Of course, the electric driving, when I don't have any engine sound, also contributes to that. Usually I would leave it with the iPedal, with the one-pedal driving feeling. I think just for the electric vehicles it's a more suitable thing, and it's also a safety thing, I always say, because when you lift your foot off the throttle, you immediately begin with the deceleration, and you don't have to switch from the throttle pedal to the brake pedal. Even already here in the city you can, by the way, use the assistance systems and, for example, the lane keeping assist, and I don't even have to activate the cruise control for that. So yeah, maybe not here in the fastest band or something, but I feel that this assistance system can be activated here at the steering wheel, is already active, keeping me in the lane even at slower speeds. That's also interesting, but at any time you can also deactivate it here directly at the steering wheel. Whee! The acceleration here in the city, that was kind of like 0 to 50. And that's it. And since we have the all-wheel drive model here, boost from both engines, still it has a rear-wheel bias. So because it's a rear-wheel platform, if you have just one motor, you have just the rear-wheel drive. And this way here in the all-wheel drive, the rear motor is still the strongest one. I have the top all-wheel drive model here, which is at 5.2 seconds in the acceleration to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. That is really impressive. So I mean, this car doesn't make the sportiest appearance or something, also doesn't feel sportiest as for, driving feel and so on. But then it has this boost of power, that's really amazing. However, the steering here is actually really precise and feels very good. So there's no dead zone area, very precise commands. Suspension-wise, there is just one suspension available. It's a normal steel suspension, no adaptive suspension available or something. But so far it's doing a good job. It's not laid out too soft. We have that quite a lot of times that with the electric vehicles they are rather a little bit stiffer or so. But actually so far I'm very happy with that. Driving modes are also available here at the steering wheel. In the sport mode, eco mode, normal mode. This really has an effect on the throttle input, for example. And let's see, steering, that's any different in the sport mode. Yeah, in the sport mode gives you a little bit more feedback. That's actually quite nice as well. But it does not change the horsepower or something. We know that from, for example, from the small Peugeot electric vehicles, that they really reduce horsepower in the eco driving modes, and then they boost horsepower in the sport mode. This is not the case here. So the acceleration in the normal mode and in the sport mode will be just the same. Just that the throttle pedal is reacting more spontaneously in the sport mode. Yeah, I mean, more or less you can just leave it then in the normal mode and that's it, and you'll be just fine with that. Now we are getting on the motorway. See also more about the acceleration when we are already at speed. So I'll wait till the exit and we can then accelerate up to 100. So I do now 50 kilometers to 100. Let's go. Plop, that's it. So even that, really quick. I mean, the all-wheel drive model, yes, the strongest one here. Do you really need it? It's the most fun in acceleration, but you'll also be just fine with some of the less strong versions because they're really so powerful. iPedal here, getting off the throttle, car's getting in front of me. Directly good recuperation, no problem at all. And noise insulation here at 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour. Still fairly good, so actually I think I have to stay here, sorry about that. Yeah, but that also shows this car is really also flexible as for the lane changing. Again, quite stable from suspension, at the same time good comfort. and really a lot of fun to steer it around. So the driving fun factor with this vehicle is really very, very good. And that it's electric just contributes to that, a very spontaneous reaction. I can easily also live with the rear-wheel drive. We also have that in the Tesla Model 3 where we compared all-wheel drive to the rear-wheel drive. Of course, you have always more punch with the all-wheel drive versions, but then the rear-wheel drive versions, they sometimes just come around in the corner a little bit more because you are just getting pushed from the rear and that's it. And that can be sometimes just be a better feeling. Wow. Whew. This is really great. There's also this special head-up display, which is showing me arrows in my line of sight. That's also very helpful, especially here in this situation. Even when looking at the map here, I wouldn't have seen like, okay, would it be the left or the right lane? But then in the head-up display, it was showing me like an arrow in this direction, and then I know, okay, it's the right lane here. So without the somewhat augmented reality head-up display function here, I wouldn't really have known which way to take. By that, I did actually know, so that's indeed very, very helpful. Of course, we're now a little bit higher in the energy consumption since we did this, acceleration test, but we can also zero it out and see what kind of result do we score actually when we zero it out and keep it rather steady here on the motorway, and let's see about that. And that could also be something of the, minimum energy consumption. And here at the moment, here on the motorway, of course the AC is running because it's kind of hot outside, yes. But here now, let's see, we wait a little bit until we get a better result. But in our tests so far with this vehicle here, we were always about 17 somewhat kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's 27 kilowatt hours on 100 miles, and approximately the same we've been showing right here. And this also happened for the Polestar 2. Just the Tesla Model 3 was indeed more efficient as for this respect. And I think that's also still the case, that the Tesla electric motors are just more efficient. That's where they're still ahead, and that's also why they have advantages as for the range. Here then, however, probably be a little bit more range with the Polestar 2, but overall these competitors are all somewhat close. Once again, there are a lot of cars around us here as well, and I think it's rather relatively silent in here. A high-speed test is yet to be done, so at a later stage we will also get this vehicle here in Germany, take it to the German motorway and really floor it out 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour, see about that. Of course, please subscribe to our channel if you want to keep updated with these videos. This one here now, our first driving test today, and so far I'm actually quite impressed with the driving. Very positive aspect all the way, like steering, suspension, acceleration, calmness here in the interior, how everything is being built and you touch and you see while driving. That's really good. Infotainment system wise, once again, the inbuilt map, not too good to see, but definitely take the head-up display. This is really helpful, first of all, for checking the speed, because here also it's sometimes a little bit blocked while driving, but then also for these GPS arrows you see, they are very, very helpful. So if there's one option you should actually go for, to me, the head-up display, it would actually be. And once again, lane change, a lot of fun, feels super flexible and agile. So all the hardware stuff they've done here is really, really convincing. Of course, we talked about the charging infrastructure and the whole stiffness of the chassis and so on. Everything we say today will basically also count for the Kia EV6 because they are sharing the same platform. And of course, it just makes sense that they do so because they developed this charging, this charging technology for both vehicles. There is the blind spot monitor, by the way. You have to have this small triangle in the side mirror, and when you set the turning indicators, it also flashes. That's helpful, but we've seen better integrations of the blind spot monitor. It's not too obvious, I think. And yeah, maybe should have been bigger, or maybe like, in a curved way, something like this. That would have been more helpful than the small triangle we see here right now. So we had city traffic and also Autobahn. And in both cases, that was really convincing. And here now about 120 kilometers an hour, so about 70 miles an hour, still very stable on the road. And noise insulation wise, we're not picking up any disturbing wind noises anywhere. So even at this speed, which would be the maximum speed here in Spain, also on the motorway. These on the motorways in Spain, I know. So this is still a very good result. And I mean, when the motorways here are a little bit more curvy, that's also a reason why the speed is not too high. And then also in this area, it's really a lot of fun once again to steer this car around. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you see that here. When I have the left turning indicator on the motorway, I have like the camera from the side mirror and right again here. And this is another blind spot helper. So when I use the right turning indicator, small camera image appears from the right side next to me. Also a great safety feature. We've known that recently from the Genesis G80. This was a very interesting feature. And so what you see here also, the top luxury cars they have inside the corporation. Also this vehicle here, which is not top luxury class, but more in the price performance EV segment, still receives all the big tech stuff they have available. By the way, here, since we drove a little bit faster on the motorway, consumption now went up around 22, 23 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer. So that would be more than, definitely way more than 30 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. So we see that on higher motorway driving, where Tesla even has more advantage, because the Tesla consumption does not go up that much when you drive a little bit faster on the motorway at the Polestar 2, and here also for the IONIQ 5, and also for the Kia EV6. That is actually the case. And then here, our range with the big battery for constant, like 120 kilometers or 70 miles. Now our motorway driving would be less than 400 kilometers or less than 250 miles. So is it now the best electric vehicle in the price performance sector out there now? It's a very good electric vehicle, but to me it's not the best, because infotainment system wise the Polestar 2 and the Tesla Model 3 are definitely way ahead. Tesla of course also with the supercharging infrastructure and also with the efficiency of the electric motors. This one here, however, very good in the charging technology. That's where it is actually ahead. And overall, a very good package they're offering. So now it's time then to go to our comparison review, Tesla Model 3 versus Polestar 2, to get more about these cars and even more on this car very soon, and also to the Kia EV6 if you stay subscribed here on our channel. So first, see you now at the Tesla Model 3 versus the Polestar 2.